The irony of being called too old in a glass-walled conference room named after Alan Turing, who revolutionized computing at 41, wasn't lost on me. I sat across from Marcus Chen, the 28-year-old CEO of Nexus Digital, watching him deliver the speech he'd probably practiced in front of his Tesla's rearview mirror. "Sarah," he said, not even looking up from his MacBook, "tech moves fast. We need people who can keep up. I'm Diana Walker, 45, with 20 years of software development experience and 11 patents to my name." But to Marcus and his fresh-from-Stanford executive team, I was just another Gen X relic taking up valuable standing desk space. "Your severance package is generous," Jennifer Ross, the 30-year-old HR director, added with practiced sympathy. "4 months' pay, plus we won't contest your unemployment claim." I kept my face neutral, thinking about the email I'd received last night from Kingston Venture Partners. The one confirming they'd approved my private buyout proposal. The one sitting in my personal inbox while Marcus explained how I was falling behind in an industry I'd helped build. "The truth is," Marcus continued, adjusting his Patagonia vest, "we're moving toward younger, more aggressive talent. People who live and breathe the startup culture. Unlike me, who merely wrote the code that powered their entire cloud infrastructure. The same code they tried to get me to transfer to their GitHub repository last week. The code I'd carefully licensed under my own LLC 5 years ago. We'll need you to sign these standard NDAs." Jennifer slid a stack of papers across the table. "And of course, transfer any relevant project files before you leave." "Of course," I said quietly, thinking about the other email in my inbox. The one from the patent office confirming my latest approval. The one covering the exact processing algorithm Nexus Digital had built their reputation on. "Look," Marcus leaned forward, attempting sincerity. "This isn't personal. It's just business. The market moves fast. And, well," he gestured vaguely at me, "experience isn't as valuable as innovation these days." I gathered my things slowly, methodically, the same way I'd built my career, my patents, and my quiet investment portfolio, while younger developers chased the next trending framework. "One question," I said, pausing at the door. "Did you ever actually read the licensing agreement for the core processing algorithm?" Marcus waved dismissively. "Legal handled all that years ago. Why?" I smiled. "No reason. Good luck with the Series C funding next week." Walking through the open office space, I passed dozens of standing desks where young developers balanced on wobble boards while typing on mechanical keyboards. None of them looked up. To them, I was just another tech dinosaur going extinct. If they'd looked closer, they might have noticed my outdated clothes were actually tailored theory. My sensible shoes were handmade Italian leather. My ancient laptop bag was handcrafted in a small workshop in Florence. But looking closer wasn't the startup way. In my car, a deliberately modest Volvo, I opened my phone and sent 2 messages. To Kingston Ventures. Proceed with the acquisition plan. Timeline accelerated. To my patent attorney. Begin enforcement proceedings. All previously discussed patents. Then I drove home to my modest condo, actually the entire top floor of the building, and opened my laptop. Time to start the process that would teach Marcus Chen and his young innovators a valuable lesson about looking past the surface. My phone buzzed. A message from Eleanor Chen, Marcus's mother, and my former colleague from our IBM days. "It's done," she asked. "Just like you warned me," I replied. "Didn't even read the licensing agreement." "Arrogant boy," she texted back. Time to teach him what real innovation looks like. I smiled, opening my files. 20 years of careful planning, strategic patents, and quiet investments were about to pay off. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving people wrong. It's letting them realize just how wrong they've been all by themselves. And Marcus Chin was about to learn that experience isn't just valuable, it's expensive. The next week unfolded exactly as I'd anticipated. Young entrepreneurs, for all their talk about disruption, are remarkably predictable when their foundations start to crack. Monday morning, 9:17 a.m. The first panicked email arrived from Nexus Digital's legal team. Urgent review needed. Patent infringement claim received. I sipped my coffee in my home office, watching the chaos unfold through the various monitoring systems I still had access to. They hadn't bothered to change the admin passwords, another oversight of moving fast and breaking things. By 10 a.m., Marcus had called an emergency board meeting. I knew because I'd placed a significant investment in one of their main venture capital firms 3 years ago. Silent partner privileges included all board communications. My phone buzzed. Eleanor Chen again. Marcus just called me in a panic. Something about patent violations and processing algorithms. Right on schedule, I replied. Board meeting should be interesting. At precisely 11 a.m., I opened my laptop for the virtual board meeting. My small ownership stake through the VC firm granted me observer status. Most of the young executive team didn't even know I was on the call. Marcus appeared on screen, his usual confidence notably absent. We've encountered a slight technical hurdle with our core processing system. Slight? One of the board members interrupted. The entire platform is built on potentially infringing technology. Our Series C investors are already asking questions. I watched Marcus squirm, thinking about all the times he dismissed my suggestions about proper IP protection. Our legal team is reviewing options, he stammered. We believe we can work around the patent. The patent that covers our entire processing architecture. Another board member cut in. The one that apparently belongs to a holding company controlled by the employee you just fired? I smiled, remembering Marcus's words about experience not being as valuable as innovation. Jennifer from HR spoke up, her voice tight. We had no way of knowing. It's in the licensing agreement, I said quietly, making my presence known for the first time. The screen erupted in chaos as faces turned to locate my video tile. Ms. Walker, the board chair addressed me directly. Perhaps we could discuss this privately. Of course, I replied. Though you might want to review the other 7 patents my holding company controls. The ones covering your cloud infrastructure, data processing, and that clever AI implementation Marcus has been promoting to investors. The silence was deafening. This is blackmail, Marcus finally burst out. No, I corrected calmly. This is business. Isn't that what you said last week? Nothing personal. Just then, another email popped up on everyone's screen. Kingston Ventures announcing their acquisition of a controlling interest in Nexus Digital through a combination of direct purchase and proxy voting agreements. As of 11:15 a.m., I continued, Kingston Ventures holds 51% of Nexus Digital's voting shares. And as of 11:16 a.m., I'd like to call for an immediate board vote on new executive leadership. Marcus's face went from red to white. You can't. Check your shareholders' agreement, I suggested. The one you signed without reading last year when you were too busy innovating to bother with details. The next hour was a blur of legal discussions, votes, and resolutions. By lunch, I had been installed as executive chairperson, with full operational control. Marcus was offered a position as innovation consultant, a fancy title with no actual authority. As the virtual meeting ended, I sent one final email to the company. All employees please join an all-hands meeting at 2 p.m. Time to discuss some changes. Elinor texted again. Marcus just called me crying. Said you destroyed his company. No, I replied. I saved it. He just doesn't know it yet. At 1:55 p.m., I walked into Nexus Digital's offices, my offices now. The same standing desks, the same wobble boards, but a very different energy. The young developers who had ignored me last week now watched nervously as I made my way to the conference room. Sometimes the best lessons about innovation come from the very experience so many are quick to dismiss. And I was just getting started. The all-hands meeting was set in the same glass conference room where I'd been fired a week ago. Poetic justice has a sense of humor that way. Every standing desk was empty as employees packed into the space, their average age about half of mine. Marcus sat in the back, his Patagonia vest replaced by a proper suit, his idea of looking corporate for the new boss. First, I began, let's address the elephant in the room. Yes, I now control the company. No, I'm not here for revenge. And yes, I'm keeping most of you employed. The tension in the room shifted slightly. But, I continued, we're going to do things differently, starting with the assumption that youth equals innovation. I pulled up our project dashboard on the screen. See this processing algorithm everyone's been so proud of. It's actually a refined version of something I developed in 2005. The cloud infrastructure you think is cutting edge, based on principles I patented in 2010. Several young developers shifted uncomfortably. Real innovation isn't about age. It's about understanding both where technology is going and where it's been. Starting tomorrow, we're implementing a new mentorship program. Each team will pair experienced developers with younger ones. Real collaboration, not competition. Jennifer from HR raised her hand tentatively. But our culture will improve, I cut in. No more ageism, no more bias, no more assumption that only people under 30 can code. And yes, that includes bringing back several older developers who were pushed out before me. Marcus stood up in the back. This is exactly why we needed young leadership. You're turning us into IBM. I smiled. Interesting you mention IBM. Did you know they just licensed 2 of my patents? Or that Google tried to acquire my holding company last year? Age didn't seem to bother them. He sat down abruptly. Now, I turned back to the room. Let's talk about the future. Not just the next funding round or the next product launch, but real, sustainable growth. Over the next hour, I outlined my vision, a company that valued both experience and fresh perspectives, a workplace where innovation came from collaboration, not discrimination, and most importantly, a culture that understood the real value of institutional knowledge. 3 months later, the changes were evident. Our stock price had doubled. The Series C funding came through at a valuation 3 times higher than projected. And most surprisingly, we've become known as the tech company that got diversity right, including age diversity. I sat in my office, the same one Marcus used to occupy, reviewing our latest quarterly reports when Elinor Chen visited. Marcus finally read all the patents, she said, settling into a chair. He was up all night going through your portfolio. Said he had no idea one person could build so much so quietly. That was the point, I replied. While everyone was watching for the next young prodigy, No one noticed the quiet engineer building an empire. He wants to know if you'll mentor him, she added with a slight smile. Says he has a lot to learn. I glanced at my calendar. Tell him to come by tomorrow morning. Early. We're launching a new AI initiative, and he should understand how it builds on work I did a decade ago. Eleanor nodded approvingly. Teaching the next generation? Teaching them to value all generations, I corrected. That evening, as I walked through the office, I passed dozens of workstations where young developers now sat beside experienced engineers. The wobble boards were mostly gone, replaced by ergonomic chairs. Turns out proper back support beats trendy discomfort. My phone buzzed with a message from our biggest competitor. Interested in discussing a merger? I smiled, remembering their CEO's dismissive comments about outdated leadership last year. Sorry, I typed back. Not interested in selling, but I might be interested in buying. Because sometimes success isn't just about proving people wrong about you. It's about changing how they think about everyone who comes after you. 1 year later, Nexus Digital had become the model for tech company culture. Our mentor program was being copied across Silicon Valley. Our patent portfolio had grown to include innovations from developers of all ages. And most importantly, we've proven that true disruption comes from combining experience with fresh perspectives. Marcus, to his credit, had learned. He now led our innovation team, but with a new appreciation for the value of experience. His latest project, an AI system that combined classical programming principles I'd developed years ago with cutting-edge machine learning. As for me, I kept my outdated clothes, my sensible shoes, and my quiet way of building things that last. Because real innovation isn't about age. It's about understanding that progress doesn't mean discarding the past, but building on it. And sometimes the best way to disrupt an industry isn't with new technology, but with old wisdom. Respect everyone. Learn from experience. And never underestimate someone just because they remember a time before smartphones. The final vindication came at the annual Tech Innovation Awards. Nexus Digital won Company of the Year, and I was asked to give the keynote speech. Standing at the podium, looking out at a sea of faces, young and old, experienced and fresh, I delivered just one line: innovation doesn't have an expiration date. Because sometimes the most powerful disruption isn't in technology. It's in changing how people think about who can create it. And at 46, I was just getting started.